Hello, Flosstube. This is Stasha. And it's been a hot minute since I've talked, so we have a lot to talk about today. So we have December and January to cover so far. December, I stitched the Advent with semi-sane stitchers, SSS. I did the Advent calendar where you were supposed to do 100 stitches a day on a single project. And I took my Summer Queen because I hadn't worked on her yet this year. So this is my Mirabilia Summer Queen. Yes, this is a color conversion. The original pattern is a kind of a Tiffany blue, but blue's a winter color. So I wanted something that was definitely summery, and green was more summery to me. So this is my green conversion of Mirabilia's Summer Queen. And I got 3,553 stitches put into her this month. Well, in December. So that's 3,500 stitches from where she was last time. So, and I just wanted to do that first. I wanted to do that first so I could put that down and get it out of the way. So my December focus stitching was the Advent calendar with Summer Queen, and then I also did WIP Wranglers in semi-sane, and I wrangled 11 elves. And I have those for you. I wrangled I have to look at my notes here. 600 stitches on the West Point sampler for my sister. And that one's going to show up in January again, so you'll see it. I worked on Christmas sheep, but you'll see Christmas sheep in the finishes. I put in 683 stitches into Main Street. So the second building has a roof now. This was Main Street was a series done in Just Cross Stitch magazine back in, I think, 2005. Anyway, it's been a long time. So I've started the second building and the first building is finished, except for I need to put in the building name, shop name still. I'm going to change the shop name, so I haven't really put the shops in. Okay. Then the next one was, I'm just going to pull them in order and look up the numbers. So I put 930 stitches into Carousel. So we've been working on the top, and look, we are down over on the side, and we're working from the side on the way in. And normally I work on the left side over normally I work on the right side over because I'm left-handed and I don't want to cover my stitches, but this one, it was just easier to go over to the left side, and I will just work my way from left to right on this one. And then once I get to the right side, I'll probably go down. But I put 930 stitches into that, all during December. Storied Steeds got 392 stitches. And then in January with WIP Frenzy with WIP Warriors, I put in 110 stitches to almost finish that red part of the roof. Got one row left in there. And then I'll probably go down for the next horse on Storied Steeds. When we get to January, we'll talk about Storied Steeds, and I'll save it for that again. Wild Hunt got 645 stitches in December. This is Wild Hunt. It's on Picture This Plus. I forget what the fabric is, but it's Picture This Plus, and it's a Fire Wings design. So it's kind of another carousel, but that's the Wild Hunt. And you'll see that again for my 24 and 24. I put in 101 stitches in Shepherd's Bush Christmas. So this set of 4 is now finished. And we are starting on the other 4. So there's the start of the other 4. I think it goes this way. I think that's a building on the ground. So there's the Shepherd's Bush Christmas. And then class schedule. Okay, I fell on my driveway and really buggered up my shoulder. I'm sorry for the language, but I can lift my arm like this. I can't really lift it very high, so this is going to be interesting trying to show you where I was working. Because I did astronomy and started on Muggle studies. So this is a, I've gone blank. Oh, she lives in Reno, Nevada now. And she used to work out of Pine Needles in Salt Lake. Why cannot I not remember the name? Hold on, I gotta look this up. Because it's not fair to not give the artist's name. Okay, Christy Busby is the designer, but the name of her, I'm trying to remember the name of her shop. Armada Designs. Okay, so when Armada Designs originally did the sal, they said it was going to be a beginner's sal, that it was going to be simple. And her husband is a copyright attorney, so she was not going to do anything that possibly would put her in a copyright violation position. So people were getting upset that it's not more Harry Potter. No, she never said it was. She said it was a wizarding class schedule. So everybody's been adding things to it. I've added a few things. I added beads in the potions class. I put a cat, and somebody else did, okay, the cat was there, but somebody else had designed that teapot turtle, and I just thought it was adorable, so I put it in, and a few other beads and sparkly threads, and I'm getting to the point where it's like I just want it done, so I may or may not add anything more, but we'll see. I'll save Secret Carousel for later. Talk about West Point. And then finishes in December. I finished the Witchy Sister Mouse, which is the only mouse that I hadn't, only Halloween mouse I had not finished yet. So that's done. And I need to have an FFO February because I have lots of things to finish off now. So I did have 2 new starts in December. The first was I got the opportunity to beta test. Something's falling out there. Okay, I got an opportunity to beta test the Carolina House Designs class that's going to be taught in EGA in February. And we didn't get supplies for everything. The only thing we got were supplies for the Catherine Parr, Queen Catherine's pin pillow. I really want to do this book. But because we did not get the supplies for the book, there are some things that I do not have that I need to figure out how to get, because these are things I have never worked with. Large Grecian braid, Lizarine silver, bright check metal pearl, gold wire 0371. I don't even know who makes gold wire 0371. And 2mm and 2mm, 3mm, and 4mm spangles, and pearl gold. I have no idea where to even source these. So if anybody has any ideas on where to source those, because I would really like to do the book. See the book there? But I don't even know where to get the supplies. And I've talked to Carolyn, and she has said that she only got enough. She really only got enough supplies for everybody to do the kit who's doing the class. So she's like, maybe after the class is over, I might be able to give you leftovers. But honestly, I understand. Paying students come first. So that is where I am there. And then my other December new start was one that I have been meaning to start for a long time, and that is Jack Frost's Tree Farm. And I started doing it with 2/1, and that just didn't work. I did not like it. So I started over doing 1/1, and that looks a lot better, a lot cleaner, a lot easier to work with. I'll get around to frogging that out, but I should have enough space to stitch it without having to really worry about that. So that was my December new start. And because it was a new start, I couldn't count it for the WIPs. So it didn't count there. Okay. So to finish up December, let's go over stats. And I'm going to read these because I keep my stats. I have a great worksheet for keeping stats. If you want a copy of it, just ask for it. I'll put my email in the description so you can ping me and ask for it. So stats for 2023, statistics for the year. I averaged 248 stitches per day, with a maximum stitched of 860 in a day and a minimum of 0. So yeah, I had a few days I didn't stitch at all. My median stitch count was 228. So a little lower than the average for my median, but it all averages out, right? My high month was January with 11,689 stitches. And my low month was March with 1,708. And I don't remember what happened last March, but my hands were, I remember now, my hands had gone numb. And I couldn't hold a needle, and they sent me to a rheumatologist. It wasn't osteoarthritis. He's like, no, it wasn't rheumatoid arthritis. He's like, you have osteoarthritis. And the British stitchers suggested that, hey, if you've gone through menopause, it may be menopause hands. Check your estrogen levels. And the estrogen worked for a couple months, but then it stopped. So that is what happened in March. Was I couldn't hold a needle. I couldn't stitch. It wasn't until like July that I was able to start stitching again. That's when I met the chiropractor, and that helped amazingly. Okay, total stitches for the year was 90,568. And I know there are some of you fast stitchers that are like, 90,000 for an entire year? What are you doing? I stitch after work. I had 3 months where I couldn't use my hands very much. Remember, March was only 1,700 stitches for the whole month. However, I would like to point out that last year started with Just Nanuary, where I stitched on 31 different Just Nan pieces during the month of January. That means that I had 29 starts. And then I ended up starting 10 other pieces throughout the year. So last year, 2023, I had 39 starts. I had 30 finishes, and 25 of those finishes were just man pieces. So that kind of tells you where I was. So I finished the year with 42 WIPs. I started the year with 32 WIPs. So I think somewhere along the line we balanced out, because 39 starts, 30 finishes. Oh, and I had one piece that I'm like, forget this, I am not going to finish it. So it got tossed. So I had with 42 WIPs. Okay, well, starting the year with 32 WIPs, ending it with 42, I had 8 projects that had less than 3% stitched by the end of the year. I kind of set a goal for a percentage of stitching that I'm going to do on each piece. And last year I was trying for 10% on every piece. And I had 8 pieces that ended up with less than 3% stitched. I had 3 WIPs that got absolutely no stitches put in them at all. And those were Fortunate Traveler, Spring Carousel Horse, and Fall Carousel Horse. And part of that was a conscious decision because I was going to focus on Summer Carousel Horse for my Teresa Wentzler days. And I kind of failed horribly when it came to Wentzler Day. Every Wednesday is Wentzler Day, except I didn't really stitch my Wentzler days. And so far this year, I haven't stitched my Wentzler days either. So I need to do better at setting aside Wentzler Day. However, so I mentioned I started the year with 42 WIPs, and 42 is a wonderful number. All you Hitchhikers fans know that 42 is the ultimate number. However, looking at my stats and looking at my chart, I was like, you know what? It is really, really hard to count stitches on needlepoint. And it's really, really hard to count stitches on embroidery. Luckily, 2 of the groups that I'm in, Utopia and WIP Warriors, will let you count time on pieces that are difficult to count stitches. So I dropped the needlepoint and embroidery out of my list. So that means that was 3 needlepoint pieces and 2 embroidery pieces that got dropped off my WIP list. So I am down. So I'm ending the year with, I'm starting the new year with 37. And having started the new year with 37, we started the new year with Shepherd's Bush January, because this year, let me move things aside for a second. This year, I am going to stitch the Year of Stitches. So this was January. I started it on New Year's Day, and I finished it either 3 or 4 days later. I forget which. But there is January. And then I also finished my Christmas sheep, my Just Nan Christmas sheep. You can see me through that. There's the Christmas sheep. And somebody said, oh, what goes in this space? Well, see, the Christmas sheep folds. And this little bit right here is going to fold up. So you've got the tree and the sheep once I cut the fabric. And it will make a little pocket. I so need to finish it February. I need to FFO all the things in February. The other thing I finished this month is that Catherine Parr pin pillow that I told you about. See, there's the Catherine Parr pin pillow. And now I ask you, what color is that outer knot border? Is it green or is it black? What does your eye see? I was supposed to stitch it with black. However, one line is green and one line is black. So if you can see that, one line is green and one line is black. But I don't know which one your eye sees. Does it look green or does it look black to you? Kind of cool. But I will need to finish that up. By the way, on the Christmas sheet, Terry gets the pattern. There's the sheep pin that goes in with it. I was trying to figure out why do I still have the project bag? Because all the finishing supplies are in there. Okay. So I'm going to talk about January plans and then I'm going to go over Christmas haul because I need to kind of clear up the space here a little bit. Okay, I mentioned that my plans for the first day of the month is to start a Year in Stitches piece. This is the December Year in Stitches. And you'll see them all, but there's the February. Try not to get the glare on it. There's February. And I have all the charms to go with them. So that's cool. So that is my, I guess you could call it my sal for this year. Okay, we finished those. Okay. So plans for this year. New Year's goals. Last year, I was trying to get 10% on all my pieces, and I realized that's not working. So this year, I want to do at least 10% on my small and medium pieces, 7% on my large pieces, and 3% on my BAPs. For those of you that don't know what BAP stands for, it's big swear word. Well, it's not really a swear word. It's an anatomically correct word. It's a big donkey project. We'll go with that. It's a big donkey project. I'm just trying for 3% on that. So if I try for 3% on my donkey projects, this is Secret Carousel. This is the only Haid I have in my WIP list. And it's crooked. It was sideways. It was upside down. No, it was sideways. That's sideways. This is the top. I need to stitch 1,054 stitches every month in this piece to hit my 3%. I have stitched my 1,054 in January already in this. And then I've had to frog out 53 stitches right there because I was off by one thread. I'm doing full cross on 36 count with one strand. So I will have to put in another 50 stitches before the end of the month to make sure that I hit my 1,054 stitches. So that is my big goal for this year. And hopefully the WIP Warriors road trip will help me with that. Okay. So I joined WIP Warriors this year, and I am doing the 24 and 24. Wait, Stasha, didn't you just tell us you have 37 WIPs? Oh, but wait, you finished 2 of them, so you have 35 WIPs, right? No, I have a new start, so I have 36 WIPs. But Stasha, how are you going to do 24 and 24? Well, you saw Summer Queen. I have another Mirabilia. This is my version of New Year's Fairy, and I did this because I forget what stitcher I saw had done New Year's Fairy in a dark blue dress. And I thought, oh, well, every New Year's party has somebody in a little black dress. So I put New Year's Fairy in a little black dress. And she is so close to done that the goal is to finish New Year's Fairy and then use that slot in 24-24 for Summer Queen. So We're going to finish New Year's Fairy and then start Summer Queen. So look, she's so close to done. We have one wing her head and all the beading and backstitch. I hate backstitch. But she desperately needs backstitch on her arms. So we'll do beading and backstitch and she'll be done. And then I can use her slot in 24-24 for Summer Queen. Okay. I have a Just Nan slot. And Christmas Sheep started out my Just Nan slot. And now Frightmare House. Did I pull out Frightmare House? Ha. My pile of 24 and 24. I did not pull out Frightmare House. Hold on a second. Okay. When we left, I don't think I paused it. I think I stopped it. I'm going to have to stitch these together. It's a good thing I'm learning about editing. Okay. So, after finishing Christmas Sheep, I had to run downstairs to get one of the pieces I was missing. So that's why I'm a little out of breath. Because I ran. And I'm getting old. Okay, so I finished Christmas Sheep, and then the Just Nan slot went to Frightmare House. So you can see that Frightmare House, I've got this one done, almost done on this one. Then I'll have 2 more blocks, and that. So that's my 24 and 24 Just Nan slot. Summer Carousel Horse, which is downstairs. And I'm not going to bring it upstairs because it's on the frame. Summer Carousel Horse is my Teresa Wentzler piece. And I'll put a picture of it at the end. My Joan Elliott slot is Ladybird Fairy. And you're saying, wait, Stasha, the last time you showed us that, it was on scroll rods. Yes, and it was. And if you'll remember, it was crinkling up the ends. I have a different set of scroll rods that is wide enough that I won't have to mess up the edges of the fabric here. And Ladybird Fairy is my Joan Elliott 24 and 24 slot. Oh, did not mean to bump that. I'm going to have to clean up this room. I'm just tossing things as we're done. Okay. Cabinet of Curiosities. This was the Stitchonomy Halloween stitch along. I swapped out the fabric for a piece of Picture This Plus. I want to say it's Brandy. I've got it in the bag. If you need to know, ask and I'll look it up for you. But this is my Cabinet of Curiosities. That's in the Sal, that's one of 2 pieces in Sal slots for 24 and 24. And then of course, because I didn't want to fall behind on my donkey projects, we have the 2 needle minders are in love with each other. Hold on. Let go. Thank you. Okay, my Kingdom of Books. I have finished the first page. I am working on the second page. My goal for this year is 3%. But my secret goal is to finish the second page. And then I can move on to the big pages because these are the 2 little pages. My Halloween piece is Tonight We Ride by Autumn Lane Stitchery. Again, big donkey pieces. another donkey piece. This is Anniversary Roses. And it was a class that I took in EGA, and the teacher made us sign a release saying we would not show it on social media. But she does not appear to be around anymore. So if she is still around, somebody can tell her that I showed it on social media, and if she really wants to sue me, she can. But I figure it's not enforceable anymore. So it's been over 10 years. If you're still upset about people showing it on social media after 10 years, maybe you shouldn't be afraid of the internet. But there's my Anniversary Roses. I am on page 7 of 10. So if I did 1 page a quarter, I could finish this year. So we'll see if I get 1 page a quarter. I would like to finish Noah's sub this year. Okay, remember, I can't hold things up very high. That is all that's left on Noah's sub. See, right there. That's all that's left. The rest of it is pretty much all done. See, it's all done. If I move back, can you see it all? Yeah, I think you can see the whole thing if I move back. There is my Noah sub. Now, I have to admit, I have not done 100% of the stitching on this. There was a stitcher whose eyesight and hands just got to the point she couldn't stitch anymore. This is one of my inherited WIPs. So, this is my inherited WIP from somebody who can no longer stitch. And I will finish that this year. That is my goal. It is at 87% done. So 3% would bring it to 90. But I think I can probably finish this one in 2024. Okay, this one has to be finished in 24. This is the West Point sampler that I'm stitching for my sister. Her husband graduated from the United States Military Academy. One of her sons is named after a building on the academy. So my sister started this ages and ages ago, and I've cleaned. When I got it, there was like splotches that looked like soda or chocolate or something, and I have cleaned it as best I can, but I'm going to have to wash it at least one more time because it still smells like soap. So I don't think I got it completely rinsed. So we have this bottom section, the chapel, and then all the back stitching. And then that one will be done. Her birthday is January 18th, same day as Melanie Watkins. And I have told her I will get it home to her in time for her to get it framed for her birthday. Wild Hunt is my carousel slot for 24 of 24. After Wild Hunt is finished, either TW's carousel or Dragon Carousel will go into that slot. One of the two carousels will. Okay, Storied Steeds is one of my 24 and 24. It was a Sal piece that it's on Pattern Keeper. It goes fast when I stitch on it. It's just making the time to stitch on it. Okay, and then we've got the Year of Stitches, Anniversary. And then my middle child gave me two patterns for Christmas. The first one is 7 swans to rule them all, 6 geese to find them, 5 rings, something, and in the pear tree bind them. So I started my 7 swans. And it has the 200 stitches in it, so it counts as a WIP. So there's the 7 swans. And I'm using Bestitched Me Jack-o'-lantern for the threads. And okay, so the fabric that I'm using, once upon a time, I worked for CBiz. CBiz sent me to Kansas to do open enrollment at a military base there. The Big Red 1 base. I think that's Kansas. Anyway, they sent me to the Midwest where the Big Red 1 base is, which is less than an hour from Picture This Plus. So I took a late flight. We were finished up at 2. I had a 7 p.m. flight. So I took a rental car and I drove over to Picture This Plus. Well, the shop that Picture This Plus was working out of at the time. And they let me have fabric out of their oops bin. So this piece of fabric is an opalescent. I think I can get it to sparkle for you. This is an opalescent oops from Picture This Plus. So I didn't have to pay for it because it was out of the oops bin. And she's like, oh, please just take those. She's like, be careful. I don't know if you can wash them. So I can't wash this one. But I figure it'll be a fun pattern to do on it. And that just looks so good on it. We have the gold for the ring, the one ring in the pear tree bind them. And the other pattern that Light gave me is, you know, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, but they were all deceived for another reindeer was made. And there's the fiber. There's the fabric. So once I finish 7 swans, I'll do that one. And you'll remember I mentioned that I had misplaced the Doctor Who quilt. I found it. So I found the Doctor Who quilt with all my signatures on it. Jeremy Bullock played Hal the Archer. He was also in, he did a lot of the sword fighting in Star Wars. And then I need to get the gold thread and do the Impossible Girl right here. Someday I wish I could meet him, but it won't happen because I'm not going to get to England anytime soon. So there is Mark. Mark, who showed me how to do selfies. He's in Supernatural and Doctor Who and everything else science fiction. And his father was Reg the Blank in Max Headroom. Okay, and then we've got Hello Sweetie, Alex Kingston, John Barrowman, Captain Jack Harkness. So I worked with six, seven. So Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann. And then we have It's a Heart, Not a Bum. She was in, not only was she in Doctor Who, she was also in Torchwood. And then there we have Eccleston. I work at FanX, guys. So, Catherine Tate. I was pretty sure Tennant was never going to come. So we've got Catherine Tate. And then when Tennant came, I said, oh, well, Catherine signed in your spot. And he says, of course she did. So David Tennant signed over here. And you can't really see that because he used gold pen. But I'll stitch it in gold. And then Karen Gillian. And I'm in the middle of stitching this one. Who is that? That's Matt Smith. So I'm in the middle of stitching Matt Smith. And that's where it was when I misplaced it. And yeah, I am missing Rory. And he was just here at FanX and I couldn't find it. But now I have it. It's no longer misplaced. Okay. So, goals for this year, finished goals for this year: Noah's Sub, New Year's Fairy, Christmas Sheep, which is done, Par Pin Cushion, which is done. I want to finish 3 Just Nan projects other than Christmas Sheep. So, Frightmare House is the first one I'm planning on finishing. And then I'm pretty sure probably Diamond Bouquet and Lady Scarlet's Christmas are probably the other 3 that'll get finished. And Samantha, the Huga Stitcher, was talking about it's the year of the dragon. We should do a stitching salve for the year of the dragon. So here's my dragon. This is Firewing Designs Sentinel. Okay, guys, this sucks not being able to use my shoulder because I'm trying to hold it up. So there's my dragon. I have finished pages 1, 4, and 7. So pages 1, 4, and 7 are finished. I'm currently working on page 2. We'll do 2, 5, and 8. And then we'll do 3, 6, and 9. And then she will be done. So that is my Year of the Dragon Sal. And if I didn't have enough goals, I am starting WIPGo again. Because it's not like I ever finish WIPGo, but I make a board every year. But the January WIPGo spaces were 9 and 22. And I did 9 and 21 instead of 22. Oops. My board is kind of randomized. So I'll just have to remember that when they call 21, I will need to work on 22, which is Alice in Wonderland. Because for some reason I was thinking it was Cabinet of Curiosities. Oh well. So I've done 1,000 stitches on the West Point Sampler and 1,000 stitches on Cabinet of Curiosities this month. And in the next couple days, they'll call the numbers for February and we'll start doing those. And now we're going to do haul. We will get to true crime, but we're going to do haul. And I have to pause again. Because the Christmas present I gave myself is in my purse and not here. So I need to go get it. Yes, I know. I was planning to be organized. That's one of the reasons it took so long to film this, why there's such a big gap, because I was going to get organized over Thanksgiving weekend. And then I was going to film. And that didn't happen. And then December happened. And I stitched a heck of a lot because, remember, I put in over 3,000 stitches on Summer Queen alone. So I stitched a lot in December, but I didn't get organized in order to film. Now I have a lot of true crime, local true crime to talk about, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to film today. But I obviously did not organize the stitching stuff well enough because I have to run downstairs and get my little cottage needleworks. Or I can just keep filming and tell you about it, and I'll put a picture of it at the end. But I have talked to a stitching shop, and they are going to do, for my Christmas present for this year, I am doing the Cottage Garden Fabulous House series. And they agreed that they would just auto ship to me the houses as they're released, along with any specialty threads that are needed. So we have the Classic Colorworks, Plymouth Rock, and Ladybug that are needed for Santa's house. And you're like, but Stasha, you're doing 24 and 24. Yeah, I'm going to collect all of the Cottage Garden Needleworks. And in 2025, guess what my monthly sal is going to be? Because I always end up getting them a year ahead and then doing them a year later. So I'll put Santa's house at the end. But my LNS is closing. Jamie of Craft Center Fine Stitchery has decided she wants to retire. To the best of our knowledge, unless the person who buys the building wants to keep running the business, Craft Center closes as soon as the building is sold. So I picked up a few things off my wish list before she's gone. I have fallen in love with these Whispered in the Wind gates. So I got Guardians. I got the Wizard's Gate. Don't you just love those dragons and the cats? And the buzzards. Well, they're not buzzards. I think they're griffins. So we have the griffins from the Wizard's Gate. We got the Astronomer's Gate. The cat, the dog, and the crows. And of course, the phases of the moon and the stars. And I still want to find the Witch's Gate, the Morning Tree, Gatekeepers, and in the Gloaming, there's the Gatekeepers in the Gloaming and the Morning Tree. So those are the other three I want to find. Okay, and then I told you about 7 swans to roll them all. I have 3 children, 1 of each. So that means I need to stitch 3 times. So 7 swans to roll them all in that color. In that colorway. And in this colorway. So we'll do 7 swans to roll them all 4 times. Because that way I get 1 and each of the kids gets 1. Okay. Done with that, done with that. We talked about WIPGo, we talked about... Is there anything? We talked about 7 swans to roll them all. Okay, Christmas. Christmas haul. I got gloves in a bottle. And I do not remember which box that's from. Okay, I have combined stuff because of space. So we got the Retro Christmas Stitch and Night Stalkers Calling Turquoise Tinsel and the New Old Fashioned Way. And some DMCs. Which I'll probably end up using something else. So there's that. That is from Under the Sea Fabrics. The Jewel Mandala. from Silks for You. The Silks for You, I get the Silks for You box every year. Okay, the thread drops are from Under the Sea Fabrics. So yes, I've combined several boxes in here. So Under the Sea Fabrics, Under the Sea Fabrics zipper pull, Silks for You, Silks for You, more Silks for You. It's only fair to hold them up. This is their 12 Days of Christmas. This was day number 7. Day number 8. Day number 9. Isn't that a pretty line? That was day number 10. Another jewel tone. That was day number 1. Number 6. Number 4. It's a garnet, I think. Number 5 was a nice jade. Number 3 is another garnet. Number 2 is an amethyst. Jeweled scissors. And of course, the fob. This one is from the Under the Sea box. It's a little pin cushion. Counting pins from Under the Sea. You know, we can't do that with that arm. Counting pins from Under the Sea. The needle minder from Under the Sea. I think it's a bunny. It's kind of a zombie bunny. Silks for You sent me a jade turtle. More Silks for You. That is a wonderful pink inside a purple bag. Then Have a Cup of Cocoa on, have a Cup of Cheer on Under the Sea Fabrics. There's the Night Stalker calling threads and the DMCs for that retro Christmas pattern I showed at the beginning. There's the fabric for it. Isn't that a gorgeous fabric? This is Winter Wonderland by Under the Sea Fabrics. No, I didn't take it out of the plastic, but there it is. And then some more zipper pulls from Under the Sea Fabrics. And beeswax, which I use in quilting but not in stitching. Okay, other things I got. This was in the Silks for You box. I have a Caramello Koala and some Cherry Ripe, which I will now eat because I've shown them to you, so I can eat them now. And then, other things I got for Christmas. I got this Bestitched Me's One More Reproduction, Christmas Wishes, and the Bestitched Me silks to go with them. So that's another Christmas scarf, but in another day. Oh, there's the zombie bunny. It's a Christmas tree on the mug. So I have a zombie bunny needle minder. Okay, we have the final gingerbread mouse, the Christmas Eve mouse. There's the final mouse. I got the slide for Santa's in the House. The mini needle slide. I got June's Pearl Fairy. because I have all of the Mirabilia fairy birthstone fairies for the children, with the exception of February, because July was amethyst and there's never been a February ruby. Okay, other things that I got. This was one of my unicorn projects, Under the Deep Blue Sea, where it's got all the stuff here. And I have no idea if you can even get the casket anymore. So I don't know. I'll find something. I'll find something to use if I can't find the casket. But that was one of my unicorns, and I found a shop that had it. And then, since no pattern can travel alone, I threw this in. Actually, I threw these two in because Paladin and Warrior were two that I had been looking for. Gee, those silks for you silks I just got? Wonder what those are going to get used for. But I was just a few dollars short of free shipping, so that's where this came in. And I honestly don't think I have a Shannon Christine Designs pattern anywhere, so I got the Snowman Mandala to throw me over the amount for the free shipping. Yes, I will pay more for free shipping. But hey, I've got a Shannon Christine's design now. Okay, and then Stitchery Express had petite needles, so I have petite needles. These are so great when you're playing thread chicken and you just need a really short needle to get that last couple stitches in. Then Light used their 3D printer and printed me thread drops. So I have 80 3D printed thread drops. So I can use them for Teresa Wensler or Joan Elliott or something else that has 80 colors in it. And then I have some Tanya Rivas project bags. Starry Night with stars. And Alice in Wonderland is probably going to move into this one. It is the Cheshire Cat with the purple stars. So, and I love how these have the tabs. They have the big zippers. You have the second pocket for either your supplies or your pattern. I love Tanya's project bags. And you can find her on Facebook. Okay. That is the haul. Oh, the Retro Christmas also came with a needle and a sticker with the zombie bunny. Okay. One more stitching thing. So I now have the stash room and a workroom. The workroom is also my office for work. But in order to get the workroom, it meant that we had to box up my youngest child's stuff. And one of the things we bought, when we were boxing things up, he's like, "I am never going to play these games, Mom. This game, Mom." So I have the Ultra Pro deck box for My Little Pony. Friendship is magic. So I have a deck of My Little Pony cards. And somebody was saying at the Crazy Woman Retreat that a deck of cards makes wonderful floss drops. So I have 80 floss drops. very nicely printed with a 3D printer. Aren't these beautiful? They are just so big and pretty. But I could have a Friendship is Magic floss drop deck. Would that not be just so cool? So I am debating on that. And that hurt just to reach for that box. I've got to get the shoulder better. Okay. That is all the stitching that we are going to talk about today. So, I know what you really came for. You came for the true crime. So let me talk to you about local true crime. So in my first reboot, we talked about Anastasia Stevens, who last spring was shot by her husband. And he then went on to shoot her parents and their 3 dogs. Well, Jeremy Bailey decided to save the taxpayers of Utah the money for a trial and pled guilty to 3 consecutive he pled guilty to the charges for killing the 3 people, and then the charges for killing the 3 dogs were dropped. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, so he will be spending the rest of his life out at the facility by the Great Salt Lake with lots of mosquitoes, which I hope bite him a lot for the killing of the dogs. Speaking of Jeremy's, though, in Idaho, Jeremy Best will be having the first of his preliminary hearing trials. Well, not preliminary hearing. He will be having the first of his procedural trials on March 14th. So Idaho is kind of running low right now on death penalty qualified attorneys. So Jeremy Best had a really interesting day in December. Well, November 30th. November 30th, he was stark buck naked in a convenience store. We're talking like going into Buc-ee's or 7-Eleven or I don't know what it was a local convenience store in Idaho without any clothes on. And somebody took video and posted it. You can't find it now because the man was stark naked, leaning over the counter to get a pack of cigarettes. He was arrested and taken to East Idaho Medical Center, where he was booked in on a psychiatric charge, because obviously there's something going on, because you don't normally go to the convenience store with no clothes on. And he was evaluated, hopefully treated, but he was sent home. And then there was a 911 call from his home with his wife screaming on the phone. And when the police arrived, Callie Jean Randall was dead on the floor. And her baby, Zeke Best, was missing. There were Amber Alerts. There were all sorts of alerts looking for Mr. Best and his son. Unfortunately, December 2nd, Zeke... It's hard talking about kids. Zeke Best's body was found. And given the weather, there was suspicion that maybe it had been the elements. But the autopsy results have been released, and his throat was cut. Mr. Best was located several hours later, not within walking distance from where the baby's body was. So, if you are familiar with the name Jim Archibald from the Daybell trial, Jim Archibald is taking care of the Best trial because he's an Idaho death penalty attorney. It is not, the prosecutor has not stated whether or not he is seeking the death penalty given the mental health status. However, Mr. Best has passed his competency test and is deemed competent to go to trial. So come March, we'll be following the Best trial. And hopefully Callie Randall and Zeke Best will get justice. But remember how I said that Idaho was running out of defense attorneys? Death sentence qualified defense attorneys? Chad Daybell, who is Lori Vallow Daybell's husband, has his attorney in January filed to be removed from the case, stating that Chad's run out of money. Okay, first off, Chad didn't have that much money to begin with. The attorney took the house. There was a quitclaim deed on the house. And apparently the value of the house is more than the work is less than the work he's put in, because he pointed out that he's not death penalty qualified. The judge is going for the death penalty. He's been trying to get somebody who's death penalty qualified to assist him, but with Mr. Daybell being indigent, there's nobody on the Idaho death penalty list who's available because of the number of cases they've got going. Apparently there are only like 12 or 13 death penalty certified attorneys in Idaho. And they're all busy right now with other cases. You've got Koberger, you've got the Best trial, you had the Vallow Daybell trial, you've got the Daybell trial going on, and I believe there's one or two others right now going on as well. I would really have to look into that. But anyway, the judge refused the motion and said, sorry, you've been on this for 4 years. You've had plenty of time to put things together. You separated the trials. You said you were separating the trials so that you could test the DNA. You then said you're not going to test the DNA because you don't have the money to test the DNA. And, the only thing that worries me is that, has the state set this in motion for Chad to appeal, saying I had incompetent counsel? Except for Chad flat out told the judge that he wants John Pryor to continue. The thing that worries me about the Chad Daybell case is here we have a motion for Chad to withdraw, for John Pryor to withdraw from Chad's case. And according to Nate Eaton of East Idaho News, he was the only reporter there. When it was Lori, this case was national news. Lori's been extradited to Arizona to stand trial for shooting her husband now. So we'll follow that too. But she was supposed to be she's been arraigned in Arizona, and she was supposed to go to trial in April, but then they've said, no, we're going to delay it because a lot of the people who would be testifying in her trial in April in Arizona will be up in Idaho for Chad's trial. So they're going to do Lori's trial for Charles for allegedly shooting her husband Charles. Allegedly conspiring to shoot her husband Charles, because Alex, her brother, is the one who actually shot him. That trial is going to go on after Chad's in Idaho. And who knows when the Koberger trial in Idaho is going to go. So those attorneys will be busy for a long time. But one thing we won't be having a trial on here in Utah is Jody Hildebrand and Ruby Franke, the 8 passengers' mother who tortured her 2 younger children and allowed Jody Hildebrand to torture her 2 younger children, has pled guilty and will be sentenced February 20th. In fact, she will be sentenced the same time as Jody Hildebrand, who was her co-conspirator in torturing the kids. And what they did to those kids is horrific. The physical torture is horrific. But when you have an 8-year-old child who will not go to the hospital because she believes she will be damned if she doesn't go. She believes she will be damned if she gets help. The mental abuse that these 2 kids have suffered, and who knows what the other 6 kids suffered. Because, I'm sorry, Ruby was doing this sort of thing before she ever met Jody. Jody just helped her understand that she could do more and she could do better. And Jody Hildebrand's house is currently up for sale for $5.1 million. It started out at 5.3, but they've already dropped it to 5.1. It includes a safe room that is, it's a bank vault door that locks from the outside. Okay, a safe room locks from the inside, not the outside. It's a prison cell. This woman built a prison cell into her house. I mean, how sick and twisted is that? But anyway, Kevin Franke, who has filed for divorce from Ruby, has asked the judge to freeze Jody's assets, including the house, because the children deserve compensation. Well, you know what? So does Jody's niece, who's been complaining for years that Jody tortures children. And unfortunately, statute of limitations on some of her charges have already run out, and she ages out of being able to file charges on the other ones this month. So unfortunately, Jesse's kind of SOL, and it would have been nice if she got some of that money too, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So other cases going on locally. Like I said, there is so much going on out here that it doesn't get national news, but it's juicy. Corey Richens, however, is getting national news. She had the hearing regarding the walk the dog letter, and the judge is having an independent party review Corey's 60-page novel. I'm going to tell you right now, I honestly believe that Corey stuck a whole bunch of blank pages claiming it was her 60-page novel in the hopes that nobody would see them. And what gives me that feeling is the way that Sky Lazaro, Corey's attorney. Corey, by the way, is accused of killing her husband Eric through a fentanyl overdose, served in a Moscow mule. And one of the other things that has come out with Eric's autopsy is he had some prescription antipsychotic meds, basically prescription psychiatric medication that had been prescribed to Corey in his stomach. But the way Sky Lazaro was hemming and hawing around the novel, specifically calling it 60 pages, I honestly think Corey put 60 blank pages of paper into that envelope and told everybody it was her novel. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out in trial. But that's not all, folks. In 1988, Maureen Hunsaker was killed. Ralph Menzies was convicted of her murder and has been on death row. He has finally exhausted all of his appeals. And Utah has two means of execution: lethal injection and the firing squad. Mr. Menzies has requested the firing squad because he feels it will be less painful than lethal injection. And you know what? He's probably right. You get five marksmen from the National Guard or the prison system. I forget if they're from the National Guard, the prison system, or the police forces. Anyway, they have to qualify as sharpshooters to serve on the firing squad. They do not load their rifles. The rifles are loaded for them. 2 of them have bullets, the rest have blanks. So, somebody's going to hit him. So that's, think about that. She was killed in 1988. He was probably convicted within 4 years. It's been at least 30 years. I don't know if her family's even alive anymore. So, with all the appeals on death penalty cases, I almost feel like it would be easier to do life in prison, because then the family's not sitting and waiting for justice to be served. But we have a fun case to wrap things up with. Maurice Rafoul has been going around his neighborhood threatening to kill people and beating them up and accusing them of torturing him when he's the one doing all the torturing. He has been convicted on multiple charges and has been violating his bail by brandishing a firearm. He's not supposed to own a firearm. He's a convicted felon. That's a violation of firearm regulations in the U.S. for a convicted felon to own a firearm or to have access to a firearm. Well, having violated his parole, Maurice Rafoul is now back in jail. But that's not all, folks. His father wrote a 3-page letter to the police and the judge and the courts, accusing Channel 2 News and the police of persecuting Maurice. That's right. All the doorbell cameras in the neighborhood who have caught Maurice harassing people were supposedly installed by Channel 2 News. Okay, first off, I don't know a news station out there that's going to put a Ring doorbell on somebody's house. And if you've got a nutcase in the neighborhood that vandalizes your house and poops on your lawn, you're probably going to put in a Ring doorbell yourself. Yeah, Maurice poops on people's lawns. If you thought having a dog poop on your lawn was bad, a person? I mean, come on, get real. You'd think, being in his 30s, that he would know better. Again, the mental health system in the U.S. is broken. But anyway, by the way, one of the people that Maurice was convicted of assaulting and of assault and battery, as in he really hurt her enough to go to the hospital, is his own mother. But apparently, Assad Rafoul does not think that his son injuring his wife is worth keeping his son out of jail for. Well, keeping his son in jail for. So he's trying to get his son released, stating that it's the Channel 2 News and the police that are persecuting and making him go crazy. And, you can't end on a better one than that. It's sad that he's mentally ill. It's sad that because of his mental illness, he is assaulting people, threatening people, pooping on people's lawns. If we can't lock him up in a mental health facility, then maybe jail is the best place for him. He's been convicted of assault and battery on his mother. He's been convicted of threatening and assault on other people in the neighborhood. He's not getting the mental health care he needs at home. So maybe jail is the best place for him, because at least there he'll get regular medications. He'll get the helping and counseling that he needs. And he can't really manipulate the guards and the system to get out of doing things his way. So Maurice, here's hoping you get the help you need where you're at. And may you stay in the county jail for quite a while. Okay, folks, hopefully I will... last thing. Some of the pictures at the end, I picked up 2 of my pieces from Rensselaer Studios. I picked up Oh Christmas Tree that I started stitching for my sister and then fell out of love with because my sister said that stitching was kitschy. And why should I stitch anything for her if it's kitschy? Carlene Mumois finished that for me. And it's been at Rensselaer's for a little over 2 years. And that came home. And then I got a Iwo Jima kit in the 80s when I first got married and finally got around to stitching it for my husband, and I finished that. And that was up at Rensselaer's, and that has come home, and I will put a picture of that at the end as well. So I will put my framed pieces. Oh, and I also said I'd share a picture of the Christmas carousel horse, winter carousel horse. Teresa Wentzler's winter carousel horse at the end. So I will put those in, and that covers December and January. You can find me in WIP Warriors, WIPGo, Utopia, and semi-sane Stitchers. I am part of the Great Oz road trip, visiting Australia this year. I have 2 days. I have about 70 stitches to finish my shopping in the last island we hit. I think it was Mare Island. And then I've got 2 sea days, and then we land in Australia because I stitched the cruise on the way. And it has been really good because here we are on the 23rd, and I have already stitched over 7,000 stitches this month. Now, I'm probably not going to hit the 11,000 that I had in January. I had 11,689 in January last year. I don't think I'm going to hit that before the end of the month. But I don't know. It's only 5,000 stitches. Well, it's taken me 22 days to stitch 7,000 stitches. So, yeah, I'm probably not going to hit 11,000, but I could hit 10. I don't know, with this messed up shoulder. So we had really snowy days, and I went outside. We were going to go to the grocery store, and I was walking over to close the garage door, and I was expecting ice and snow. I hit a slush patch and went down, landed on my right shoulder, and I jammed it really good, and you can hear it pop when I do this. My collarbone bone pops, and I have trouble lifting it higher than this. If I use my fingers and press up, I can, but raising it just doesn't work. So I went to the doctor. I had an x-ray. It's fine. It's just a sprain. Wear a splint. You'll be okay. Take an NSAID. Yeah, right. Okay, I did that. I wore the splint for 4 days, and then my neck started hurting, so I stopped the splint. I may just call the chiropractor and go see what they say. Anyway, wow, we're over an hour. So, yeah. Remember, pattern is just a place to start. And hopefully it won't be 2 months before I film again. Thanks, everybody. Oh, one last thing before I go. If you remember, I did all 6 of the Blackbird Beetles pieces on a single piece of fabric, and I got first place at the fair. There is a stitch along starting February 7th. And, oh shoot, sorry, I had to reach for my phone. Because I need to tell you where to go to learn about that stitch along. They are going to be they're going to be using Sarah's Stitchy Spot. Okay, so go check out Sarah's Stitchy Spot. She's on YouTube. And she is going to be talking about the Magical Mystery Torso. So if you want to stitch the Blackbird Designs Magical Mystery Torso this year, go check out Sarah's Stitchy Spot. And for the Year of the Dragons, where I showed you my Sentinel, that is Huga Stitcher, which is Samantha the Huga Stitcher, which is HYGGE Stitcher. So go check out her video too. And I'll put links down below. Okay. Remember, patterns are just a place to start. Make them your own. Have fun. And don't be afraid to modify something. Go for it. See you next time.